There's nothing I like about her. She is a malignant narcissist who cannot get enough of herself while she simultaneously plays the victim. My castle's too small.
Yeah.
The queen is mean to me. They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore.
To the world, it's just, what has she been doing? Does she work? As opposed to, oh my gosh, I work so hard and I appreciate what hard work looks like.
Megyn, Duchess of Sussex, in her first ever podcast interview. It's happening!
It's not about the grandeur of a gesture. It's about, I see you.
She's not important. She married for money. It's very clear she bagged the elephant. She was thrilled she became a, quote, princess.
Well, you can...
It was planned from the beginning.
Meghan Markle wants you to believe she's a victim of the crown, the media, and the world. But behind the Vaseline-assisted tears and a $100 million paycheck lies a far uglier truth. A narcissist clinging to a crumbling facade. Her Spotify podcast, a cringe-fest of scripted vulnerability and feminist clichés that plummeted faster than Harry's relevance. Her Netflix show, a queasy parade of dubbed dialogues, store-bought pretzels labeled artisanal, and A-listers forced to praise her like court jesters. Megyn Kelly doesn't just expose the lies, she dismantles the machine. From the staff, who call her a demon, to the plagiarism scandals she's too privileged to notice. This isn't gossip, it's a reckoning. Press play to see the real Megyn. Not a duchess, not a founder, but Hollywood's most delusional grifter. Megyn Kelly doesn't just dissect Meghan Markle's podcast, she eviscerates it. Let's start with the performance that even Meryl Streep would find embarrassing. Megyn's podcast with Jamie Kern-Lima. The moment opens with Lima gushing. I'm getting full-body chills as Megyn sits across from her, eyes glistening with Vaseline, not tears. No tissues, no redness, just a glossy sheen on her cheeks, like a bad actor prepping for a soap opera death scene. Oh, and Lima's intro isn't an interview. It's a 10-minute coronation for Megyn's ego, complete with references to her royal title, her bravery, and her resilience. Megyn pounces, unveiling that this isn't a vulnerability, it's scripted martyrdom. She's not sharing, she's auditioning.
She's an American member of the British royal family, an entrepreneur, author, actor, founder of the lifestyle brand As Ever that just sold out of stock completely in the first hour of its recent launch into the world. She's also a mom to her 2 beautiful kids.
The hypocrisy hits harder than a palace press release. Megyn, who fled the monarchy for privacy, slaps the Duchess of Sussex on every gift basket, podcast title, and promotional clip like a Walmart price tag. Megyn drags the contradiction, saying she wants us to believe she's a victim of fame while cashing royalty checks. Pick a lane, Megyn, or better yet, get a therapist. But the real punchline? The podcast content. Megyn spends 40 minutes recycling Oprah-era grievances. The castle was too cold, the crown was too heavy, and the world just won't stop misunderstanding her. Megyn revealed that she's stuck on a loop, serving reheated leftovers from her pity party. Even her tears are recycled. Then comes the self-help drivel. Megyn's advice to female founders? Bottling your essence and giving yourself permission to fail. Now, it might sound really great on the surface, but it's anything but. This isn't empowerment, it's a participation trophy. Fail gloriously? Tell that to the single moms working 2 jobs. Megyn's version of hustle is dictating fonts for her jam labels.
She is meanwhile trying to have her cake and eat it too, because she's putting out this perfectly curated life on her stupid Netflix special, with her, I just had just the perfect bath salts and just the perfect tea.
The backlash was swift. Spotify's $25 million darling plummeted from number 1 to 98 in days, with critics calling it feminist dribble and listeners mocking her breathy inhales and patronizing tone. Megyn doesn't hold back. She fires back, saying even Spotify couldn't fake the numbers. This wasn't a podcast. It was a $25 million vanity project wrapped in girl boss platitudes. But the knockout punch? The plagiarism scandal. Megyn's children's book, Pearl Power, lifted entire passages from The Paper Bag Princess, a feminist classic. Side-by-side comparisons show near identical themes, a princess ditching a prince to save her. The author's lawyers fired off a cease and desist, but Megyn's team radio silence. Megyn's verdict is brutal. She's not just unoriginal, she's a thief. Even her kids aren't safe from her grift. If Megyn's podcast was a masterclass in curated vulnerability, her Netflix show is a PhD in how to make a documentary all about me. The series kicks off in a kitchen that looks like it's never seen a real meal, with Megyn arranging store-bought pretzels in plastic bags and labeling everything as if she's prepping for a Pinterest apocalypse. It's domestic bliss. If your idea of authenticity is a $500 candle and a team of stylists hiding just out of frame.
They showed her taking store-bought pretzels.
Peanut butter pretzels.
And decanting them.
But the real magic trick? The conversations that seem just a little too smooth. Viewers start to notice that Megyn's deep, probing questions to her celebrity guests don't quite match her lip movements. Turns out, some of those off-the-cuff questions were actually dubbed in after the fact. Nothing says authenticity quite like a little post-production wizardry. It's like watching a reality show where the script is written after the cameras stop rolling. And then there's the guest list. It's a parade of famous faces who all seem just a little too eager to praise Megyn's taste in home decor or her bravery for, having a kitchen. The conversations are peppered with compliments so thick you'd think the real star was Megyn's fruit bowl. The vibe is less old friends catching up and more hostage video with better lighting. Mindy Kaling tries to talk about her own journey, but somehow the spotlight keeps swiveling back to the Duchess and her curated jars of jam.
You've got Mindy Kaling appearing in one episode being cooked a frittata by Megyn, who then scolds her for daring to call her Meghan Markle.
And just when you think you've seen it all, there's the infamous popcorn from a corncob moment, because nothing says relatable like using a paper bag in a microwave to make popcorn the hard way, all while wearing an outfit that costs more than most people's rent. It's the kind of scene that makes you wonder if Megyn's ever actually set foot in a grocery store. By the end of the episode, you're left with a lingering sense that the whole thing is less about sharing stories and more about building the world's most expensive Instagram feed. The kitchen is spotless, the dialogue is dubbed, and the friends? Well, they're there to make sure the spotlight never strays too far from Megyn herself.
It's so all over the place, and I think that any viewer, unless they are watching it simply because they want a view into how Megyn maybe spends her days not in her own home, I don't think there's really much that a viewer is going to glean from this.
If you thought the on-camera moments were polished, wait until you peek behind Megyn's Montecito curtains. Turns out, the real drama isn't in the kitchen or the podcast studio, it's in the HR files and exit interviews. While the world gets jam jars and turmeric lattes, Megyn's staff are trading war stories and possibly stress balls.
She's a bully. I mean, the reports were uniformly from inside the castle that all the young women in particular who work for her quit in tears. She so wore them down and was so nasty.
Let's start with the kale chip incident. Yes, kale chips. Apparently, a missing bag of these leafy snacks was enough to trigger a royal meltdown that sent staffers ducking for cover. Forget tiaras. What you really need to survive in Megyn's world is a helmet and maybe a whistle. Former aides described the atmosphere as walking on eggshells, but with more spreadsheets and less forgiveness. And it's not just snacks at stake. Staff turnover at Casa Sussex rivals the cast changes on a long-running soap opera. Assistants come and go, sometimes in tears, sometimes with NDAs, always with stories to tell. There are tales of 3 a.m. emails, impossible demands, and a schedule that would make a Hollywood producer sweat. The only thing more consistent than the staff exodus is Megyn's ability to insist in every interview that she's just a misunderstood working mom. But the real kicker? For all the talk of compassion and empowerment, the people behind the scenes say they saw more boss than bestie. There's a certain irony in preaching kindness to millions while your own team is updating their LinkedIn profiles at record speed. The palace staff, the podcast crew, even the jam label designers, no one seems immune to the Markle management style. And yet every time a new staffer leaves, Megyn's public narrative gets a fresh coat of, "I'm just trying to do good in the world." The disconnect is almost impressive. If only the HR department had a podcast. Now that would be a chart topper.
Similar reports coming out from Montecito about how no one can work for her. She's a nightmare behind the scenes, and not toward the betterment of her staff, just because she's an insecure person who takes it out on other people.
But here's what really cements Megyn's protagonist complex. She's not just starring in her own story, she's producing, directing, and writing the script too. Listen to any episode of her podcast, and you'll notice a pattern. The so-called female founders she features are almost always women she's invested in, like Hannah Mendoza of Clever Blends. The show is supposedly about these women's journeys, but somehow it always circles back to Megyn's own magnanimity. It's less, tell us your story, and more, let me remind you who signed the checks. The guests gush, the gratitude flows, and Megyn's role as the benevolent boss is never in doubt. As one commentator put it, she only has on people who owe her. So the script is always flattering, always safe, never a hint of reality or challenge. It's Megyn's world. Everyone else is just reading her lines.
She only has on people who she gave money to so they can say how amazing she is.
Yeah, it's like she's her boss. So like Megyn is Hannah Mendoza's boss, effectively. So clearly she's keeping to the script.
So, after all the kitchen confessions and podcast power plays, you might be asking yourself, why does Hollywood keep writing Meghan Markle those massive checks? Why is Netflix still rolling out the red carpet for a series that's more Instagram highlight reel than documentary? If you're expecting a heartwarming answer about creative vision or audience demand, prepare to be disappointed. Let's start with the elephant in the streaming room. The contract. Netflix's deal with Megyn wasn't just about content, it was about optics. In a post-royal world obsessed with empowerment, who wouldn't want to be seen as the platform that gave a silenced woman her voice? But here's the twist. Somewhere in the fine print, there's a clause that makes this relationship less about mutual inspiration and more about mutual obligation. Netflix, it seems, is stuck. They promised the world a revolution and got a Pinterest board with a PR budget. And let's not forget the woke shield. Megyn's brand is Teflon-coated in buzzwords: empowerment, inclusivity, resilience. The idea of pulling the plug on her projects? That's a PR nightmare waiting to happen. Who wants to be the executive who canceled the world's most famous female founder? Not Netflix, apparently. So the show goes on, even if the only ones watching are Megyn's publicist and a handful of hate watchers with popcorn. But here's the thing, Hollywood loves a comeback, but it loves a scandal even more. The whispers in the industry aren't about Megyn's next big idea, they're about how long the woke insurance policy will last. How many more seasons can you squeeze out of a brand built on curated vulnerability and recycled mantras? At what point does the audience stop buying what you're selling, no matter how many times you relabel the jam? And then there's the guest list problem. Remember all those female founders from the podcast? Turns out, Hollywood's A-list isn't exactly lining up to join Megyn's next roundtable. For every Mindy Kaling, there are a dozen celebrities who politely decline the invitation, citing scheduling conflicts and creative differences. Translation: nobody wants to be the next prop in the Markle narrative. So why does the show go on? Is it fear of backlash? Is it contractual handcuffs? Or is it just good old-fashioned Hollywood denial? Maybe it's all three. But here's a question for the ages. How long can you keep calling something empowering when the only person truly empowered is the one cashing the checks? And as the credits roll on another groundbreaking Megyn project, you have to wonder, is this the future of streaming or just a very expensive lesson in what happens when branding outpaces reality? If you've ever scrolled past a glossy People magazine spread and thought, wow, Meghan Markle really does it all, you're not alone. But let's be honest, who wouldn't look like a supermom with a glam squad, a PR team, and a nanny-to-kid ratio that rivals Buckingham Palace? Megyn's working mom narrative is everywhere. The candid stroller walks, the just another mom on the school run anecdotes, the endless reminders that she's juggling family and empire.
To the world, it's just, what has she been doing? Does she work? As opposed to, oh my gosh, I work so hard and I appreciate what hard work looks like. I like working hard.
But behind the scenes, it's less mom hustle and more brand hustle. Take those so-called candid paparazzi shots. Megyn, coffee in hand, pushing a stroller down a sun-dappled Montecito lane. What the camera doesn't show, the publicist just out of frame, making sure the lighting's right. The nanny, quietly steering the real parenting from the background. The carefully timed calls to the press, ensuring every spontaneous moment gets maximum coverage. Authenticity, meet choreography. And let's talk about those interviews. Megyn loves to remind us that she's just like any working mom, balancing Zoom calls with diaper changes. But the reality, according to more than a few former staffers, is that the hardest part of her day isn't snack time, it's picking the perfect font for her next luxury jam label. The kids? Well, they're in good hands. Several, in fact. Megyn's schedule is packed with vision meetings, brand strategy sessions, and, of course, time set aside for those all-important photo shoots. Of course, the mompreneur image is a goldmine. Every new product launch, every podcast episode, every Netflix cameo is carefully wrapped in the language of maternal empowerment. "I'm doing this for my children," she'll say, as the camera pans over a perfectly arranged fruit bowl and a stack of branded cookbooks. But for all the talk of family-first values, the real priority seems to be keeping the Markle machine running at full tilt. Let's talk about the moment that launched 1,000 memes, Meghan Markle's tearful podcast appearance. Promoted as a groundbreaking, soul-bearing chat, what viewers actually got was a masterclass in Hollywood-level performance minus the actual tears. There she was, sitting across from Jamie Kern-Lima, dabbing delicately at her eyes, cheeks glistening suspiciously, but not a single tear in sight. Was it emotion, or just a little too much moisturizer? The world may never know.
Two of them have the weirdest dynamic. And so in this podcast, Megyn does her perfectly curated life thing, but she's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout.
The scene was meant to scream vulnerability, but instead, it whispered, rehearsed. Megyn touched her face again and again, pausing just long enough for the camera to catch every raw moment. But as Megyn Kelly and countless eagle-eyed viewers noticed, the emotion never quite made it past the surface. It's as if Megyn had studied what vulnerability looks like on TV and decided to give us her best Oscar moment, except real feelings can't be faked, and the audience knows the difference. The performance didn't just fall flat, it raised eyebrows. How many times can someone dab at their eyes without a single tear falling? Megyn Kelly, never one to miss a beat, roasted the whole charade with her signature blend of satire and sharp observation. She pointed out the contradictions, how Megyn's stories about her struggles never quite line up, how the narrative shifts to fit the moment, and how the vulnerability always seems to arrive right on cue, camera ready.
Look at this. I invite the viewers to take a close-up look at this. Where's the tear? There's nothing there. Look, it's an actor's trick. She just keeps wiping and wiping and wiping, so we think she has a heart.
After all the tears that never fell, the podcasts that never charted, and the Netflix shows that felt more like set pieces than real life, Megyn Kelly doesn't just close the book on Meghan Markle, she slams it shut with a flourish. If there's one thing Megyn's made clear, it's that Megyn's greatest performance isn't on a soundstage or behind a podcast mic. It's in the relentless, exhausting act of playing the misunderstood heroine. Let's be real, Megyn has zero patience for the malignant narcissist routine. She's pointed out, with her signature blend of disbelief and biting humor, how Megyn's story always circles back to Megyn. The "I'm just like you" act, the claims of being makeup-free while sporting a salon blowout, the endless reminders that she's a champion for women. All of it, in Megyn's eyes, is as see-through as those infamous no-tear tears. And don't forget the HRH-branded gift baskets and the female founder podcasts that somehow always end up being about Megyn's own investments. For Megyn, it's not empowerment, it's empire building, one sympathy soundbite at a time.
I don't have actual hatred for her. I have that for very few people. It's a small list, but she's not on it. But I just can't stand her. I just think she's such a phony. I love to make fun of her because she continues to give me so much material.
And then there's the married for love debate. Megyn, never one to mince words, has called out what she sees as Megyn's vision board approach to royal romance, suggesting that the fairy tale was planned long before the first date. The gold digger trope? She leans in unapologetically, arguing that the evidence is right there in the vision boards and the carefully curated public image. In the end, Megyn's final verdict lands with the weight of a royal scepter. Megyn isn't a victim, she's the architect of her own drama. The world's most public privacy crusader, the authentic duchess who can't stop performing, the feminist who can't keep her staff. For Megyn, it's not just hypocrisy, it's Hollywood. And the credits are finally rolling on the Markle myth. If you're still buying what Megyn's selling, Megyn's advice is simple. Maybe it's time to change the channel.